liftoff and the clock has started.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Tesla Time Podcast, the UK Tesla Unofficial Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Winter, and on this week's show, we take a look at where Tesla are with their current full self-driving suite and hear from the man at the top, Head of Autopilot, Andrej Karpethy. We celebrate 1 million Tesla Model 3s and discuss Tesla's plans to potentially open up Superchargers to other EV car manufacturers, along with much, much more. Stick with me because it's that time again. It's Tesla time. Tesla time indeed. Now, there is a whole bunch of stuff going on in the world of Tesla at the moment. Before we get going, let me just say a massive good luck to the Tesla team. As I record this now, it's Wednesday the 30th of June. It's the last day of the quarter for Tesla, last day of the first half. I know that there's going to be a big push to get as many cars out on the last day. So as Tesla fans, our thoughts are with you and good luck and hope it all goes well. That's to everyone at Tesla US, but also over here in the UK as well and across Europe for my podcast fans. Now, because there is so much going on, I'm gonna switch up the agenda a little bit here. What I want to do is I'm gonna give you some quick fire headlines that we don't necessarily need to jump into in huge detail. Maybe they're a bit, early in their life in terms of news, but stuff that I still want to bring to Tesla Time listeners that I still think is important to take note of. And then we'll jump into the meat of the show. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. So the first headline is that the new vision-only Model Ys and Model 3s are getting an update this week to increase their autopilot max speed limit from 75 miles an hour to 80 miles an hour, according to Elon on Twitter. Now, originally this limitation on speed limit was a, quote, precautionary measure, end quote, as Elon put it on Twitter. Now, listen, the debate rifles on around pure vision. Moving away from radar is somewhat of a U-turn for the company. Tesla used to pride themselves on the fact that they could leverage both vision cameras, the 7 external cameras, and radar to provide the best autopilot package available in the industry today. Now, this change and this removal of radar on the new Model 3s and Ys, was it, all about part shortages? Are the cars less advanced now they don't have radar? There's a lot of questions going on, and hopefully later on in the show we can kind of alleviate some of those concerns. But I do kind of think it's kind of strange that currently the new Model S Plaids and Model S long ranges that are now shipping to customers do have radar installed. So as it stands, some of the new Tesla fleet have radar and some don't. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens here. And by the way, I've read some reports and some reviews from customers with the new vision-only Model 3s and Ys. And you know what? They're mostly positive. In fact, Elon was responding on Twitter with this news around the limitation going from 75 to 80. He was responding to a customer on Twitter who was saying how good and how pleased they were with their new Model 3 and the autopilot it provided through Pure Vision. Okay, second headline. Tesla confirmed that they have now built the 1 millionth Model 3. As a Model 3 owner, this is amazing to hear. It's an incredible car and an incredible achievement from Tesla, right? The Model 3 has been produced since 2017. So what's that, 4 years? So, 4 years, 1 million cars is incredible. I'm going to give you a cheeky prediction here. I think the Model Y has the potential to smash this record. If you think about the fact that the Model Y is today being produced in LA and Shanghai, and with the upcoming Giga Texas and Giga Berlin sites, I reckon 3 years for 1 million Model Ys isn't a bad shout. So that's going to be my little prediction. And then, of course, thereafter, if you go by the pre-order numbers, if they're anything to go by, then you've got to think that the Cybertruck will hit that million mark as well, as we've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pre-orders on that already. So as that starts branching out to international markets, that's got to be a good shout for 1 million cars too. Right, number 3, Tesla have begun delivering the new Tesla Model S long range. So we've talked a lot about the Tesla Model S Plaid. The long range is a car which is $50,000 less in price. And of course, you're not quite getting that ridiculous performance, but you are still getting 3.1 seconds 0 to 60. That is, by the way, in a a 5-seater family saloon car. It's just bonkers. You're getting a 405-mile range on a full charge, that incredible interior, that incredible computer, and of course, the yoke steering wheel. Love or hate it, that's what you're getting. Now, headline number 4, this week, or the week after Panasonic doubled down on their Tesla partnership, they sell their entire Tesla stock. So last week, the CEO of Panasonic said that they were ready to make a, quote, large investment, end quote, in the production of Tesla 3680 battery cells, referencing the fact that, this is a fantastic business opportunity. This provides huge amounts of demand, so we can help provide huge amounts of supply. And it was basically Panasonic doubling down and saying, yeah, we're fully behind Tesla. But this week, it's now been confirmed that Panasonic has also, in parallel, sold their entire Tesla stock. Now, according to reports, the sell price for said stock was a whopping $3.6 billion, which is just crazy. I mean, first of all, it shows the investment and the backing that Tesla have had from Panasonic in the past. And, moving forward, we'll have to wait and see. That's why this is in kind of like the quickfire headlines. We might touch on this in more detail later on in the year as we kind of understand where the chips land on this. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, a Panasonic spokesperson said, quote, "Our relationship with Tesla as a business partner will not change going forward," end quote. So, seemingly on the face of things, they're still backing Tesla all the way. And finally, number 5, Jerome Glenn, former head of automotive at Tesla, who then became the president of Tesla Heavy Trucking, sells more than $270 million of Tesla stock options shortly after leaving in the start of June. So this was on the 3rd of June this year, 2021. Tesla released a statement saying that Jerome had left and, sending him their best wishes. He's been with the company for a long, long time. He was well regarded within the company. But he has now sold a huge chunk of his stock. Again, I don't want to go into this too much because effectively analysts are saying that this probably isn't, he's seen something from the inside and has sold up and ran away before that thing happens. It sounds like it was probably more of he had a stock option, which was kind of a use it or lose it situation. And also the fact that, if he had that much stock sat in a company, which he is now not in, that stock is exposed to any future decisions or directions the company takes in which he is not able to influence said decisions or directions and doesn't know that they're coming. So maybe he just felt like it was like his stock was a little bit exposed there. Right, there's a bunch of quickfire headlines. Now we can get into the meat of the show. Let's go for it. So in this week's show, it just so happens that there's a huge focus on FSD and Tesla's drive to full self-driving. So before we jump into headlines, let me just give you a 30-second little context of where we are with Tesla and FSD. So Tesla as a company have 3, maybe 4 main kind of focus areas, main aims. That is to electrify, to revolutionize the way a company is operated and, the way their products are released, to automate, which is FSD and everything we're talking about here, and probably you could argue safety as well is a key priority. Now, earlier last year, Elon Musk actually said that autonomy is Tesla's number 1 priority, although Elon's priorities kind of seem to swap and change in order. So pinch of salt there, but it's absolutely, it's up there, that's for sure. Now, from a UK perspective, every new Tesla in the UK is sold with auto steer and adaptive cruise control that keeps you in your lane and stuff, right? And that comes as standard for free, whatever Tesla you buy. Now, on top of that, you can pay to upgrade, and you can pay to upgrade to one of 2 tier options, okay? The first tier option is Enhanced Autopilot. Now, this is a £3,400 upgrade, and what it gives you is navigate on autopilot, auto lane change, auto park, summon, and smart summon, okay? The second option you have, the bigger, the better, the best option, is in terms of functionality, not necessarily value, but in terms of functionality, the best option you can get, the top option, is full self-driving capability. Now that is double the price, okay? So that's a £6,800 upgrade. And what do you get for that? You get everything I mentioned in enhanced autopilot, as well as traffic light and stop sign control, and, quote, coming soon, auto steer on city streets, end quote. Now, city streets is currently in beta form. So Tesla are using and evaluating it now, and we'll take a look at that shortly, and have indeed given the beta out to a very select group of Tesla owners to test as well. In terms of what city streets is, there's a 5 levels of autonomy metric, right, which is widely accepted amongst the thought leaders in this kind of AI field, right? And you can Google this to find the definitions, and it goes from tier 0 all the way up to tier 5. But Elon is suggesting that Tesla are very close to level 4 autonomy. Okay, so one down from the top. Now, level 4 autonomy is effectively what you and I would describe as, a complete autopilot, right? That is getting in your car and plugging in the destination, it taking you from point A to point B with zero driver intervention. Okay, FYI, level 5, the top one, that is, there's no steering wheel, there is no driver intervention, it is completely autonomous, you don't necessarily even have to face the front, like that is like real, 20, 30, 50 years future stuff, right? So level 4 is what everybody wants, and it's what Tesla are driving to, and I commented on that 2 weeks running joke last week, how Elon says everything is always 2 weeks away, and one of the main things I was referring to there is Elon has said that there will be a button enabled on everyone's FSD Tesla, so everyone who has a Tesla with the full self-driving package upgrade, that will allow them to enable the version 9 beta of City Streets. So effectively, it's in beta form, but they can have a go and see what it's like, right? Now, this hasn't come out yet, but we're told it will be released very soon. The final thing to note on this, before we jump in, is along with the City Streets beta, there's also an FSD subscription service, which is going to be released, we think, around the same time. And effectively, what this subscription service lets you do is, instead of paying the £6,800 upgrade up front, what you can do is you can turn FSD on and off in your car and pay for it via a monthly subscription. Okay, we're still waiting for details around costings. I would personally assume that this will be in and around the £100 to £150 mark. People are saying more, people are saying less, but that's kind of where my head's at, and that's just, I have no inside knowledge, but that's kind of my gut feel. But the reason why this is gathering so much momentum at the moment is because it follows you. It follows your app. It follows your account. It does not follow your car. And the reason why that is important, because if I spend £6,800 to activate some software on my Tesla today, and then tomorrow, or whenever in the future, I then want to swap my Tesla for a new Tesla, I have to pay for that software activation, that's £6,800. I have to pay that again on my new Tesla. And Tesla don't recognize the software activation as a value booster on my original vehicle, because effectively, from a hardware perspective, all the Tesla cars have the same cameras, the same sensors, the same computers, CPUs, etc. So activating the software doesn't necessarily add value to the car. So a subscription service seems to be gathering huge momentum because, like I say, it's following you, it's not following the car. Okay, so that was a bit of an FSD brain dump, bit of an FSD level set. Now we can jump into the headlines, and let's do that. Okay, so our main story this week is that Andrej Karpethy has presented at the workshop for autonomous driving. So who is Andrej Karpethy? He is the head of Autopilot at Tesla. In the Autopilot FSD chain of command, he's at the very top, okay? And he is extremely well regarded within the company. So when he speaks, we kind of have to hang off of every word, especially if you're interested in any of the stuff that I mentioned just before this section. Anyway, Andrej presented for about 40 minutes this week at this workshop for autonomous driving. This workshop was about 8.5 hours long, I think, maybe 9 hours long, and Andrej was the last on the bill. to kind of wrap things up, if you want to check out the workshop, then just go onto YouTube and search for workshop on autonomous driving, and it will be the first one there. Maybe scroll to the end and you'll see Andrej if you just want the Andrej bit. So what I've done is I've pulled off some clips from his presentation because I think he said some really interesting stuff. Now, a quick heads up. Firstly, Andrej speaks very fast, so you might have to listen carefully. And also, just a note, he is presenting slides. So if he's referring to some sort of material or whatever, that's what that is. So this is the first clip we have is Andrej kind of introducing autonomy and why Tesla are looking at and working on all things FSD.
And I think, unfortunately, we're kind of like in a bad shape when it comes to transportation in society. And basically, the issue is that we have these metallic objects traveling incredibly quickly and with very high kinetic energy. And we are putting meat in the control loop into the system. And so this is quite undesirable. And really, fundamentally, what it comes down to is people are not very good at driving. They get into a lot of trouble and accidents. They don't want to drive. And also, in terms of economics, we are involving people in transportation. And of course, we'd like to automate transportation and really reap the benefits of that automation in society. So we all, I think, are on the same page that it should be possible to replace the meat computer with a silicon computer and get a lot of benefits out of it in terms of safety and convenience and economics. So in particular, silicon computers have significantly lower latencies. They have 360-degree situational awareness. They are fully attentive and never check their Instagram, and alleviate all of the issues that I presented. And so I think this is not super shocking, and a lot of people have been kind of really looking forward to this kind of a future. This is a frame from iRobot, a really good movie if you haven't seen it. And here, Will Smith is about to drive a car manually, and this other person here is shocked that this is going to happen. This is ridiculous. Like, why would you actually have a human driving cars? And so I think this is not very far from truth, and this movie is taking place in 2035. So I think by then, I actually think this is a pretty prescient prediction.
Okay, so as you can tell, Andrej is a techie, right? He has the brain the size of a planet, and I love how he confidently undermines the entire human race. He refers to humans as meat. He explains how we make mistakes, how we get distracted, and that we're effectively in charge of a giant piece of metal traveling really fast. And do you know what? It's undermining, but he's absolutely right. So I wanted to play this clip because I think it gives you a feel of who this guy is. He's going to be looking at FSD purely through a technical lens. He doesn't care about finance, stock price, business value. He's looking at this as an AI challenge that he and his team are working tirelessly to solve. I mentioned at the start that Elon is referring to autonomy as the main priority of Tesla Motors. So Andrej is extremely important to Elon. And at this stage in their progress towards FSD, he's almost irreplaceable, or at least very difficult to replace. So, like I say, when he talks, we have to listen. So the next clip, let's have a listen to this one because Andrej tells us a little bit more information around where Tesla are currently at with FSD, what their approach is to developing it, and who's doing that work. Let's take a listen.
The team is working primarily on the FSD functionality, which is our full self-driving suite. So here we have the FSD beta product, and it's in the hands of about 2,000 customers. And this is an example from one of the customers driving around San Francisco. And these people are posting videos on YouTube, so you can check out a lot of videos. But what we're showing here on the instrument cluster is we're showing all of our predictions. So you're seeing some road edges, some lines, some objects, and the car, of course, is navigating around autonomously here in San Francisco environment. Now, we, of course, drive this extensively as engineers. So it's actually fairly routine for us to have zero intervention drives, I would say, in like sparsely populated areas like Palo Alto and so on. I would say we definitely struggle a lot more in very adversarial environments like San Francisco. A lot of people working in autonomy, of course, know all about that as well.
Andrej confirms here that the beta is in the hands of 2,000 people, and I would assume that most of that number is made up of Tesla employees. However, currently a very selected few outside of the walls of Tesla are also using it. And by the way, do go and check out some of their videos on YouTube because people are posting videos on YouTube and, the beta looks incredible. It's not perfect. It's a bit clunky on the screen because it's still in, like I say, still in beta, but it really is a glimpse into the future, that's for sure. And gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling that, wow, these guys really mean business here. And I think the interest and focus on San Francisco is actually a good one. I know that this podcast is aimed at the UK audience, but you have to understand it would be easy to make this work in easy environments, roll it out, and then gradually improve it over time as more and more people have more and more issues, basically, right? San Francisco, I've been there on holiday. It's horrific to drive around. By the way, just so I know, San Francisco is an incredible city. If you ever get a chance to go. And if you do, by the way, go to Buena Vista Cafe. They do the best Irish coffees. Anyway, in terms of driving around San Francisco, it's horrific. The traffic, the hills, the sharp turns, tight, skinny roads. It really is a baptism of fire for FSD. And I think it's great that they're pushing FSD into the hardest environment. And if this is really going to work, if Tesla are really going to crack this autonomy nut, it has to work on motorways, country roads, but also the centre of, Birmingham, right? You have to have complete trust in the system. So again, baptism of fire is good. So that's the people that have the beta. But here's some incredible comments on Tesla's supercomputer that acts as the technical backbone of all of this technological development. Let's have a look.
So it's actually a fairly significant computer here. We have 10 petabytes of hot tier NVMe storage, and it's also an incredibly fast storage. So I believe 1.6 terabytes per second. This is one of the world's fastest file systems. And we have also a very efficient fabric that connects all of this. Because of course, if you're doing distributed training across your nodes, you need your gradients to be synchronized very efficiently. And of course, we are reading all of these videos from the file system, and that requires a really fat pipe as well. So this is a pretty incredible supercomputer. So this is a GPU cluster. Next up, we're really hoping that we're currently working on Project Dojo, which will take this to next level. But I'm not ready to sort of reveal any more details about that at this point.
I mean, the numbers that he's discussing here is nothing short of staggering. And my day job actually is in and around data center infrastructure. And I can tell you right away that Tesla have clearly invested tens of millions of dollars on just the IT infrastructure that is exclusively running their autonomy program. They will of course have so much more IT compute and storage instances running, normal business stuff, payroll, data analytics, virtual desktops, all that stuff, right? So I guess again, it's just another nod that this is something that Tesla are all in on. He mentions the compute needed to analyze the footage that all the cars are capturing. So what they're doing is when you're running your vehicle on autopilot, Tesla back at base is pulling data off the car and is assessing the decisions that your car is making. It's assessing, why did the driver have to take control? Why did the driver stop the car from slowing down? So what it's doing is it's getting better every day by learning from its mistakes. And actually, I wasn't able to clip this bit. Obviously, it was a 40-minute presentation, so I can't get it all into the podcast. But he actually goes on to talk about something called shadow mode. And what this is doing is effectively running version 9 FSD beta on your car, but in the background, i.e. it has no control over the car's controls, right? And the system is basically telling Tesla all the time, whether or not you're in autopilot or not, it's telling Tesla what it would have done in all circumstances if you had version 9 beta running. And then, of course, if it's running all the time, then they can see lots more discrepancies where the driver is basically disagreeing with autopilot with FSD version 9. So again, more broadly, this is Tesla using that data set, that incredible data sample set, to improve the system and to get it more robust and to improve it so that it can come out and release to the general public. Finally, let's take a listen to Andrej's final comments, okay, as he starts to close off the session.
So in summary, what I try to argue and give you a sense of is vision alone is actually our finding that is perfectly capable of depth sensing. It is an incredibly rich sensor in terms of bandwidth of information. And doing this and matching radar performance in depth and velocity is incredibly hard. I believe it requires the fleet because the data set that we were able to achieve was critical in all these performance improvements. And if you do not have the fleet, I'm not 100% sure how you can source all the difficult and diverse scenarios that we did source, because I believe that was critical to getting this to work. So it's hard, it requires massive networks, a supercomputer, and a data engine and a fleet. But all of these components are coming together in a vertically integrated fashion at Tesla AI. And I believe that this makes us sort of uniquely positioned in the industry, where we are barking up the right tree, and we have all the puzzle pieces to make this work.
Andrej makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Whether that be as a Tesla owner, as a Tesla fan, as a eagerly waiting for FSD, with Andrej at the helm, I just feel in a safer place. And also his comments on vision only are really interesting. I was concerned that they'd drop radar. I was concerned that it was a bit of a U-turn. But hearing Andrej speak here, I don't have as much of a concern now. So that's awesome. Andrej talks about how, again, Tesla are uniquely positioned because of that data set that they have. And kind of whilst I was listening to Andrej speak at this event, I was kind of asking myself, why is he doing this? Why is he sharing this information and all of this time? He is probably one of the busiest human beings at Tesla. And I was kind of thinking back to Elon's tweet last week, because Elon tweeted about AI Day and the purpose of AI Day being recruiting. And I think they see AI and FSD as this big ugly beast that, they're starting to climb the mountain, but they're nowhere near the top. And perhaps they can release a beta soon, and perhaps they can make people buy it. But I think they understand that to reach true level 4 autonomy, let alone, level 5 autonomy, which is the overall aim, it sounds like there's a long way to go. And throughout that journey, they will need to provide the system with a lot of tender love and care, a lot of development. So, I have no doubt that this presentation was almost an advert, right? An advert to all those students, those thought leaders, those brain the size of planets people, come and work at Tesla because we are changing the world. Next up, we've got to talk about Tesla opening up superchargers to other EVs. So this information came in this week from a meeting that took place in Norway around the overall landscape of EV charging. And of course, superchargers are great for Tesla, and they're great for Tesla owners. It's a true, unique advantage that no one else can match. However, if you truly want to electrify the industry, which is what Tesla aim to do, is this the right way to go? Even Tesla recognised that having independent chargers per brand just doesn't seem right. A quote from the meeting notes says, quote, "In the application, Tesla describes the relevant charging stations will nevertheless be publicly available from the third quarter of 2022, end quote. And Elon has actually mentioned this in the past, that Tesla are more than happy to open up superchargers to other car companies, but no one has taken them up on this. Now, for me, this is one of those things where there's probably a lot happening in the background that we don't know about. And of course, as an EV manufacturer, you would love to be able to use Tesla superchargers. It would not only save you a ton of money on infrastructure costs, but also it's a great way of jumping 5 steps ahead, 5 years ahead probably, in your EV strategy as a car manufacturer. However, like I say, no one has taken Elon up on this. I've got to think that this is to do with the goalposts that Tesla has set, and whether or not they are or aren't moving those goalposts constantly. I can't imagine Tesla are a super easy company to work with, whether that be costs and T's and C's, etc. However, worth noting, this might be something we see in Norway or the UK or even Europe first. Over here in Europe, Tesla come with the standard CCS connectors, whereas in the US, they use their own proprietary connector, which superchargers use exclusively. So it's a little bit more difficult opening up the infrastructure over there. In any case, my view on this is split, right? Firstly, is this the right thing to do? Putting, if I put all my fandom and allegiances to one side, frankly, it is, right? It will no doubt drive the electrification of the automotive industry. Like I mentioned, it will speed up all the strategies and timelines of the car manufacturers who are a little bit behind on their EV development. And can you imagine pulling into a service station and you have Ford chargers, Audi chargers, Rivian chargers, Range Rover chargers, the Tesla chargers? Like, that just doesn't work. That just doesn't look like the future. So yes, it is the right thing to do, in my opinion, although I can imagine Tesla have been known, like I say, to be very difficult to work with. They don't operate with a standard level of practice that most multi-million, multi-billion dollar companies do. And also, this is a really selfish and self-righteous thing to say, and I completely know it is, and I know it's going to sound awful when I say it, but right now, I really like the exclusivity, the exclusive feeling of being at a supercharger. As a Tesla owner, you are taking a leap into 100% electrification of your vehicle. You are giving your hard-earned money to a company that frankly is strange, that doesn't operate like any other, but you're doing that, you're holding that risk because you are helping drive what you view as progression and revolution of this industry. So when I'm at a supercharger and, it's just X's, 3's and S's around me, and all the owners have made that commitment like I have, I kind of feel proud to be there. But having said that, perhaps when EVs become more popular than traditional ICE vehicles, when it tips over, that balance tips over, perhaps this feeling kind of won't be as prevalent. Like I say, this isn't looking like a possibility until Q3, so late 2022. So, we'll have to wait and see on this one. But one definitely worth mentioning. And like I say, be keen, email me on teslatimepodcast@gmail.com. I'd be keen to get your guys' views on this because, it's an interesting one. Another huge thank you to everyone who's listened to the show. We are now on episode 4. We're rolling. I'm going to be building up a portfolio, building up a catalogue of episodes. And officially this week, I'm opening the email address, teslatimepodcast@gmail.com. Now, what I'm going to be doing is asking all my listeners to either send an email or even better, if you record your voice on your phone, you can actually send that voice note to me and I'll feature you on the show. So send me either email or voice, send me your questions, your comments, your talk topics, whatever it might be, send them across and you can be on the show, which is awesome. Thank you so much for listening. That about does it for the Tesla Time podcast this week. Next week, we'll be bringing you even more news, rumours and gossip from the world of Tesla. I'm having a blast putting this show together. I really hope you guys are enjoying listening to it. And I look forward to hearing from you at teslatimepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much again. I'll see you next week. Peace.